Saludos. It is a privilege to share this message with our theater family in celebration of World Theater Day. I am here at Pregones Theater in the Bronx, New York. To frame my message, I will share my experience in building the company I co founded more than 40 years ago as an example of the power of collaborative work in theater. No one can do it alone. This I learned early on growing up in Puerto Rico, where I was born. On a bright sunny day in the late 1960s, I found myself dragging two large buckets of paint from a hardware store up a hill all the way to my school, where I was taking a theater class. I was 17 years old. Our amazing drama teacher was leading us towards the end of year production. We rehearsed after school every day. But there was other work to be done: set construction, costumes, props, all to be done by the students. So I raised my hand, offering to pick up the paint, and I dragged the buckets of paint an inch at a time until I made it. It was exhausting. This should have been a warning of what laid ahead: a career and lifestyle that requires massive collective efforts so we can offer our audience and ourselves a unique experience. That is, at least, what we hope. My love for theater was greatly influenced by my grandmother. She had been a student actress in the early 1900s in Puerto Rico through a great arts and education program. At the time, boys and girls were not allowed to share the stage. That is how she was given the role of Don Juan Tenorio. That was big. She ran home to her parents and said, "I need to cut my hair so I can play Don Juan. I do not want to wear a wig." She was met with fierce resistance. In defiance, she ran to a friend and convinced her to cut her hair. She won the battle, and soon other girls in town did the same. I share these stories because over time, theater has played an important role in transforming the way we see and experience the world, or at least answer questions we did not know we had. I graduated from the University of Puerto Rico and moved to New York City in 1973, prompted by a student exchange. My immersion in the Latino theater movement of the 70s in New York began almost immediately. In the late 1960s and 70s, several Latino theaters emerged in New York City. As my work as an actress evolved, so did my understanding of the theater landscape in New York City and across the United States. The more I learned, the more restless I became, wanting to share the wealth of Puerto Rican plays beyond my immediate surroundings. And in 1979, inspired by the Latin American popular theater movement, I co founded Pregones Theater, an ensemble based touring company. We were also inspired by the groundbreaking work of the legendary actress Miriam Colon and the theater she had founded in 1967 in New York, also as a touring company, the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater, which began its journey by taking its productions outdoors to parks and street fairs, but was about to have its first home in Manhattan's Hell Kitchen. The first time I spoke with her formally about my dream, she simply said, "Don't stop." And we didn't. Our ensemble grew slowly, steadily. It was now a mix of Puerto Rico and New York born artists, two sides of the same mirror, enriching the concept of our ensemble and the content of our work. Because if theater cannot respond to the environment in which it happens, why bother? By mid 1980s, we had performed in international festivals and in multiple cities across the United States, becoming familiar with history making companies in other parts of the country, such as Teatro Campesino. But our steady home was the South Bronx, the place most of the world thought they knew but didn't. We had become agile, creating productions based on collections of stories and performed with live music. What followed was pure magic. With the support of the progressively active Senance Church, we converted its gym into a theater, our first South Bronx theater space. We now had a stage for ourselves and to share with others. Throughout the 1990s, we deepened our commitment to cross cultural work and partnered with Jumbok Productions, a Black theater company in New Orleans, and Roadside Theater, an Appalachian theater company in Whitesburg, Kentucky. Our dream was to find our way into each other's stories to create together, promise of a love song was born out of this desire to build the power of storytelling. Together, we performed and engaged in places we wouldn't have thought of had we not dared. And so we kept on performing in neighborhoods and institutions riddled by discomfort and tension at the arrival of new residents. We were invited to plow through with what we do best: aesthetically powerful theater in English, in Spanish, bilingual, breaking down barriers that initially seemed unmovable. In 2005, we inaugurated this, our very own theater in the Bronx. But of course, we couldn't stay still. Around that time, we also performed at the International Community Arts Festival in Rotterdam. We met and engaged in creative collaborations with companies from Peru, Belgium, South Africa, Slovakia, and others, while establishing enduring friendships in Rotterdam. We were struck by how much our respective traditions and stories had in common and how similar our missions were. This resulted in co productions that took us to each other's home countries over the years and cemented our commitment to embracing theater as a global force for creativity and human connections. And we continue to expand our global family with upcoming exchanges with theater makers in Spain. As our work evolved, our relationship with the Puerto Rican Traveling Theater deepened. Because of its location, when the Broadway line moved, the theater found itself at the heart of the theater district. In time, we decided to merge our theaters and become one: Pregones Puerto Rican Traveling Theater. In 2014, I had the honor of accompanying Miriam Colon to receive the National Medal of Honor. Miriam passed away in 2017, leaving a profound legacy in the city of New York and beyond, and our theaters fully merged. I owe a debt of gratitude to my creative and team building colleagues, now a rich multi ethnic family that has worked alongside me all these years to build our theater company, to pave our way into our future. We are more committed than ever to the practice of collaborative theater across cultures, language, race, and all identities. To this date, our theater has visited nearly 600 cities and 18 countries. As for the Latino theater movement in New York City, it has expanded and it is strong and steady. We have formed an alliance that highlights our stages as important destinations for theater makers and audiences. This is why I am more convinced than ever that no one can do it alone. Thank you, Theater Communications Group and International Theater Institute, for all you do. To our fellow theater makers around the world, let us sing together. The lights will dim, but only for a moment. They will come back up as we take a bow. And then on to our next theater adventure. It is, after all, what we do best: theater. Let's break a leg together.